I don't know which Hitmon I should have on the side of the screen. Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we're going to be taking a look at Hitmons, this special combo, this finishing combo, that our Hitmon Pokemon can deal with. Hitmonchan, Lee and Top obviously all work in unison to deal some pretty cool effects. We'll take a look at the list in just a second. But before we do that, if you haven't already subscribed, then please consider doing so. It only takes a second, makes me feel good, and you can always unsubscribe at any time. There's no pressure at all. Feel free to do that if you'd like. Just click the button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, we'll take a look at the list and see exactly how you can play Hitmontop, Lee, Chan in the Pokemon trading card game online. So, we normally start with one card highlighted, but this combo requires bits and pieces of all of them. Ignore the fact that there's the clicked Pokemon Communication there. Obviously play 4 copies of that card. There you go, that's an important one. But we've got the Hitmonchan, or the Hitmon combo here that we're going to talk about. So if you haven't seen this before, then you might have been living under a rock for a little bit. It's been around for a while, but it's the first time that we've featured it. So if you only view our videos, then thank you, appreciate it. It's very kind of you to choose this content over literally everything else. But if you have been living under a rock, this is how the combo works. We've got 4-1 fighting energy, hit and run with Hitmonchan. 30 damage, switch this Pokemon to the bench. Nothing special. It's just solid, you know? We've got Hitmonchan here. We've got 3 copies of that so that we can retreat into things like Lily's Pokédoll, which has 4 copies in our deck, or maybe one of our plethora of other Pokemon which we could use. Another one of the Pokemon that we could retreat into is Hitmonlee, and this is where things get very interesting. We've got a 1 energy attack called Special Combo. Now, we can only use this attack if our Hitmonchan used hit and run during our last turn. If it did, then we do 90 damage to one of our opponent's bench Pokemon. Now, 1 energy for 90 damage is pretty solid, but we need to use Hitmonchan's attack first. So if we attack with Hitmonlee without that attack from Hitmonchan, then it does nothing. We've got Mega Kick for 3, but we're never going to get that powered up, so there's no point in talking about it too much. Special Combo is where it is at. So those two Pokemon work in combination, and then we actually have Hitmontop here, which is arguably the best of the lot. It's the hardest one to pull off. After our Hitmonchans use Hit and Run, and then our Hitmonlee uses Special Combo, we can use Finishing Combo with Hitmontop for 1 fighting energy, and if our Hitmonlee use Special Combo, then this attack does 60 damage to each of our opponent's Pokemon. That is every single one. So Hitmontop is really, really good, surprisingly enough, at finishing the game. We can use this to deal a ton of damage to a bunch of Pokemon and potentially set ourselves up. Now, surprisingly enough, this deck is actually pretty consistent to set up. It's hard to get the combo off, and it's hard when the combo goes off to get victories, but again, it's a fighting type Pokemon, so you should be able to deal with Pikarom relatively easily. And when you've got Pokemon like Jirachi on the bench for your opponent, 60 damage on all of your opponent's Pokemon is going to be pretty strong. And Zigzagoon obviously is going to help us get the extra 10 that we need to deal with those Jirachis. Could be a number of other Pokemon on the bench, but that is a pretty solid way of going about it. Now, we also have Diancie in the list so that we can add 20 damage to our active Pokemon's attacks. That means that Hitmonchan's going to be doing 50 instead of 30. It's a little bit more respectable. It's not going to affect Hitmonlee at all, but Hitmontop it does affect. It'll do 80 to the active Pokemon and 60 to the bench, which is pretty solid. And then we can get ourselves some extra damage with one of our 3 copies of Martial Arts Dojo. If we're in front, it'll do 10 more. If we're behind, we'll do 3 more. Just ignore my cat there. She's trying to get into the room. She's super excited about Hitmontop and Hitmonchan, which is obviously very, very good. Apart from that, the deck is pretty self-explanatory. We've got things like Jirachi to try and set ourselves up here. We've got Dedenne to draw some cards. The list also plays Mew. We play a lot of low HP single prize attackers, so we don't want things to get knocked out. We don't want people to be easily placing damage counters, and we do also have a copy of Reset Whole Marshadow as well, because our Martial Arts Dojo is relatively important. We want to make sure that we are getting that off. Apart from that, it's a relatively, like I said, straightforward deck. We've got 4 Pokemon Communication, we've got 18 Pokemon in our deck, so that should be okay. And we've got 3 Quick Ball. I think that number's actually supposed to be the other way around. Maybe that's why I had those numbers a little bit awkward. I think it's a little bit weird to have 3 Quick Ball. There you go. If you've stuck around and actually watched the video, you got the correct list. 4 Quick Ball and 3 Pokemon Communication. We've also got 4 Scoop Up Net, which is going to work nicely with our Jirachi engine, as well as our Zigzagoon, which is obviously now reusable. And we've got 4 copies of Switch and an Escape Board as well. We can attach that Escape Board to Jirachi. When it comes to our supporter line, it's again very, very standard. We've got 4 Research, 3 Marnie, and of course 2 copies of Boss's Orders. This isn't going to be that big of a deal of a card in this deck, but it's actually more important to be able to move things onto the bench so that Hitmonlee can attack them. So nothing quite like your opponent's Dedenne having 90 HP left and they move it into the active and then you can't knock it out with Hitmonlee. That would be horrible. So Boss's Orders is very useful, and you got to try and remember those specific interactions. Worst case scenario, if your Pokemon get knocked out, I mean, we've got low counts of each of our attackers. We can use Ordinary Rod to just put them back into the deck. So we'll see if we can get Hitmonlee and then obviously Hitmonchan and then Hitmonlee and then obviously Hitmontop to work in this one. Hopefully we can get ourselves a game. I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to win. It's not necessarily a super competitive list, but it is one definitely worth taking a look at. Playing, if you can get the combo to work, it feels really, really good. So we'll check it out on the ladder in just a second. It'll be like a little woo, and then that'll be that. I don't know why I'm doing this. I mean, I've done these videos for a long time. You know what's going to happen. Alright, so it's game time here. Again, thank you very much to Sam for recording this one for us. Sometimes it's tough for me to get to those games, so I appreciate it. We're going to see some more content on my account soon, but I think Sam's got this one covered. At least we'll see Hitmontop in the active. Got a Quick Ball and a Dedenne. We're going second here, so we could potentially start our combo off, and Blitzle is a pretty solid Pokemon on which we could start attacking. We're going to be able to hit that for weakness, and that Zebstrika is going to be within range of a finishing combo at some point. I think that was a Psychic Energy that we saw in the bin there, Acrobike, Blitzle. I think this could potentially be a Golurk list. I've obviously seen this one before. We've got a Golurk deck profile. If you want to check it out, it'll be up above us. But yes, it looks like it is going to be Golurk. We've got Golett coming down here and the Twin Energy attachment. So that seems like a matchup that we might be able to win. We also grab the Hitmonlee here. That's really big. What we could do is we could Quick Ball away one of our Fighting Energy and grab ourselves the Hitmonchan and get ourselves ready to start taking those knockouts. We have the Switch, so we can use Hit and Run, and we've got the Dedenne as well, so we can potentially find ourselves a Pokédoll that we might be able to attack into. Oh, it doesn't look like we're going to manage to do it here, but we can get rid of this Mew, maybe grab ourselves a Jirachi or a Diancie or something like that. Actually, if we get the Diancie, we actually knock the Blitzle out, so that seems pretty good. And then we can hit the Marnie. Hopefully we find the Pokédoll off of this. We do! This is the perfect first turn. We're able to find ourselves everything that we need. We can hit and run here, take a knockout on the Blitzle, and then retreat into the Lily's Pokédoll. Good stuff. So, now even if our opponent gets a really big turn, they won't be able to deal a huge amount of damage to us. The issue, though, is that we don't currently have an energy on our Hitmonlee. If we had the Hitmonlee with an energy on it, we might be able to deal some damage to maybe that Golett on the bench, maybe the Jirachi as well, but we're not going to lose a prize here. Worst case scenario, we can just promote Hitmonchan and attack again for 30. That wouldn't be a problem. It's a difficult one though, because if we top deck energy, then we could potentially get ourselves going. Worst case scenario, we could just go into a Jirachi. I think the Hitmonchan's safer. Hitmonlee is a little bit riskier. I think we'll go with the Hitmonchan. It's probably not a bad idea. What is the worst thing that can happen? Find the dojo, so that's pretty interesting. We could potentially get ourselves some extra damage, but not that we really need it here. It's more about what are we going to retreat into. We need something that's not going to get knocked out by Fists of Antiquity, or something that doesn't matter if it gets knocked out by Fists of Antiquity. The worst thing about this situation is, though, we don't get access to the Jirachi. If we had have gone into the Hitmonlee, we could have gone for the Jirachi, but I think this is okay. It's not ideal. We do need a supporter at some point. We've got a very awkward hand. Let's put those 2 energy from the discard pile back into the deck. Oops, we accidentally clicked do both. We'll have to put the Mew back in, that's fine. And we'll put the 2 energy in as well. If we attack into the Golurk here, we could potentially deal a bit more damage. Just trying to figure out what the best thing to do here is. If we maybe hit and run. What is Sam doing here? What is he thinking? Thinking retreating into the Jirachi? I think that's not a bad idea. We can Stellar Wish, grab ourselves a Professor's Research. That Escape Board is very tempting. We might be able to find ourselves the energy here. I think now it's time to commit to the Hitmonlee. We could probably put the Jirachi back in play. That's not a terrible idea. Although we could just burn it and leave the space. I think Sam's spotted a nice number here. We can put this Jirachi on 10. That means that if we do attack with Hitmontop, then we will be able to get the knockout on that. And look at this. We've managed to find the energy. Fantastic stuff. We could even put down the Dojo if we want, but we don't need to get the knockout on either of the Pokemon on the bench. We will deal with that benched Golett. Absolutely perfect. Not sure if the energy is supposed to deal damage to us at all. Could possibly, but I don't think so. And you can see the Zigzagoon coming up pretty clutch here. Managing to get that 10 damage down onto the Jirachi. Dedenne in the field of play is also pretty good. It means that if we are able to get attacking, we might be able to take a couple of prizes at some point. There's another Golett on the field and another Blitzel. I'm going to knock out our Golurk. But if we find an energy, we might be able to get ourselves into Hitmontop here, which would be really, really big. Probably stick the Hitmontop forward. We've got a Jirachi, so if we do need to find a supporter, we can. I think we're in a pretty good spot here. Hitmontop goes into the active. If we top deck an energy, we can just go with finishing combo. We have 3 switches here, which is pretty significant. I think we are going to need to go into the Jirachi. We'll need to use that to try and find a supporter, preferably something like a Marnie, so that we can maybe get ourselves going. I'd really like to get the 60 damage on all of those Pokemon on the bench. Just trying to figure out here what the best thing for Sam to do is. I think it has to just be this Jirachi. Just go for the switch. See if we can find ourselves a supporter. And if we can, then that would be excellent. Looks like we have a research here and a scoop up net. We could maybe scoop up and try to find another supporter, but I think we just have to commit to the research. We can't risk things like research going away. Might as well put the stadium back into play. That seems like a pretty good move. Then we can switch back into the Hitmontop and research away. We could potentially save one of these Pokemon as well. I think the Hitmonlee might be worth saving. Grab ourselves something out that doesn't really matter. Maybe grab a Jirachi. We don't really need another one of those. We've already got one in play. It's not a problem. I'd probably get that one, although Sam is eyeing off one of these Hitmonlees here. We just put one back. We don't necessarily need that anyway, so we'll research our hand away. We've got ourselves a couple of energy, which is good. We actually found our only Hitmonlee as well, so relatively happy with this. We can flip the finishing combo. That'll at least take 1 prize for us, which is pretty solid, and we'll get that Blitzel within range as well. So 60 damage to each of our Pokemon, each of our opponent's Pokemon, sorry. Take 1 prize, and now we've got ourselves a situation where we might be able to get a little bit more damage dealt next turn. The Golett evolves into Golurk, but as long as that Blitzel stays a Blitzel and not a Zebstrika, we should be fine. In saying that, of course, they are going to grab the Zebstrika. Good thing, though, is that we are going to be able to potentially get the Hitmontop attack off again at some point, take the knockout. We could also just use Hitmonlee. That could get a knockout on the Zebstrika, although we do want to take a knockout on the Dedenne, and that could be a very strong Hitmonlee target, especially if we do have access to our Super Scoop Up to grab that extra 10 damage from the Zigzagoon. Alright, we're in a really strong spot here. We're in front on prizes, which means that our stadium won't be dealing that much extra damage, but we've got an energy and a Hitmonchan. So what we can do here is we can... Oh my goodness, we found the scoop up net. Alright, so we can attack with hit and run here on the active Golurk. It's not going to take a knockout. We were doing 50, 60 damage, minus 20 is going to be 40, which is not quite enough, but it will put it within range of a Hitmontop attack if we get a chance. I think we hold onto this hand. I don't think there's any reason for us to play any of these cards just yet. We can hit and run into the Pokédoll, and then we will be a-okay for next turn, I think. We want to save that Hitmonlee for later. You can see Sam having a bit of a think here, moving that mouse around quite a lot. I think the hit and run is the right choice. Do 40 damage, and 110 will mean that it is close enough to get knocked out by Hitmontop. We're almost there, getting the second round of this combo. We have the scoop up net, so next turn we can promote the Zigzagoon or the Jirachi, whichever we feel is better, in order to put down that Hitmonlee. And it looks like we're in a pretty strong spot here. We're going to take a couple of prizes, and we might potentially be in a spot to win the game, which would be really, really good. We'll see how we go. Our opponent does need to gust here in order to really threaten us this turn. If they take a knockout on the Pokédoll and don't take a prize, then I think this game might just be over. They're going to put the Golurk onto that Ditto, though, so we're going to miss out on that prize. But the Fist of Antiquity onto the active means that we are in a pretty strong spot. We can put forward either the Hitmonchan if we want, and just take the knockout here. It's actually not even a bad idea, and play the Hitmonlee down. I think actually, yeah, let's do this. Let's just put the Hitmonchan in the active. We can save the Hitmonlee for next turn, and if we hit and run into the Pokédoll here, that's probably a little bit safer. Make it look like we've got a dead hand. But if we're going to play that Hitmonlee down, it's probably best to scoop up net the Zigzagoon now, put 10 damage on the Dedenne on the bench, and then get cracking. We're going to take a prize with hit and run. Sam's just doing the maths again. We're going to take that prize, but we need to keep that Hitmonlee safe. I think it's one of our only ones left, so I think what we need to do is just scoop up net and then research. I think we've got enough energy to deal with it, so we'll see how we go. We scoop up net, get the Zigzagoon, which would be great. Put that back down. We're going to be able to get 10 damage onto that Dedenne, and then we may as well let it rip with the research and see what we can find. So we're in a good spot here. The energy is fantastic. We're going to put that onto Hitmonlee if we would like. I think that's probably a pretty strong choice. And the best thing is as well, we actually have boss's orders here. So if our opponent puts that Dedenne in the active in order to try and stop us from winning the game, then we are potentially going to be able to gust something else into the active, so we can snipe for 90, which would be really, really good. Find another Hitmonchan off of the prizes there. We don't really need that. What we do need is we need a way to switch. We don't want to leave the Hitmonlee in the active. That would be awkward. That would mean that we'd probably find ourselves in a little bit of trouble. Now that Hitmonlee would get knocked out. We'd need to find another way to attack next turn, so we need to put the Jirachi up there. But if our opponent doesn't take a knockout on the Jirachi, we could actually risk missing and lose the game because we can't retreat. There's 11 cards in deck, so I mean, we know that there is at least a escape board somewhere, so we'd be able to find that, but the last thing I want is for this very, very low deck size, the 11 cards left, to not have access to that particular card. They've gone for the Crushing Hammer, and they hit the heads. That is so annoying. Okay, so now we have to find another energy. I hope we have one. They've gone for the Fist of Antiquity here. So we won't need to boss's orders. We don't need to do anything other than attack with Hitmonlee. We'll put the Hitmonchan in the active. Oh, there we go. We've got the energy. There you go. We can just retreat, right? So we put the Hitmonchan in the active because it doesn't really matter too much. We can manually retreat this Hitmonchan. It's okay. If we did miss the energy, then we could have gone for the hit and run again. But we find the energy off of the top deck, so we'll special combo, deal 90 damage to the Dedenne on the bench, take 2 prizes, and win the game. So there they are, the Hitmons, the combo as it is supposed to be. Actually managed to get the combo off a couple of times there. Not quite all the way through, but we did get Hitmonlee attacking, which is all that you can ask for. You're not going to win every single game with it, but you will get a couple, and that's what it's all about, right? Winning a couple of games on the ladder. Who could ask for more? Anyway, if you have liked this content and you want to see more, then please consider subscribing. We'd really appreciate it. There's a button just about here that you can click to do that. Over here are some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, as well as a playlist in the bottom right-hand corner for more videos from the Sableyes. If you are a person who has stuck around to the very end, not many people actually do that, so if you are, thank you very much. And also, please consider tweeting us at the Sableyes_YT. My cat's back. She's back for more. Unbelievable. She's like so excited that we won the game. If you are interested in having your content featured on the channel, maybe you want some coaching help from Jordan and I, that would be greatly appreciated. We're happy to take a look. Feel free to send it through to us. Anyway, I've gone way over the top with the outro. The buttons are actually there now. we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.